Hi and welcome to the inaugural video of the Legally Speaking channel. The endeavor with this channel, Legally Speaking, is to educate and inform those who are governed and affected by the law, including fellow advocates, students, and of course, litigants. I know this is Citizenship Amendment Act season, but we are going to give you some welcome respite here and not talk about that at all. We are going to talk about animals instead of citizens for a change. How about that? Did you know that the Indian Constitution, no less, under Article 51AG, casts a duty upon each and every citizen to be compassionate, so to speak, to animals? And a lot of you do show the necessary amount of compassion to these animals. If this video is anything, or your interest in this video is anything to go by. But this country unfortunately has its fair share of people who do not share this sentiment of compassion, love, and kindness towards animals. And such people from time to time happen to find their way to the managing committees of resident welfare associations, or RWAs. Yes, those pesky RWAs. There is no dearth of RWAs in this country which strictly insist that residents, whether they are owners or tenants, do not keep pets. And they also insist that residents do not feed strays on society premises, even if those strays happen to naturally be found on those society premises. The question is this legal? And the answer is no, and it's a resounding no. We thankfully have something called the Prevention of Cruelty Against Animals Act 1960, which is a central act and which defines animal cruelty, and it makes it punishable as well. Section 11 of this act enumerates a number of acts of omission and commission that are offenses under this act. For instance, it is an offense for an animal owner under the act to abandon or fail to provide food, drink, or shelter to an animal owned by them. It is also illegal for anybody to generally mistreat any animal in a manner as would subject them to pain, suffering, etc. So no kicking or beating them or driving them away. Supposing an RWA made a rule or bylaw barring residents from keeping pets or feeding strays on society premises, would that be legal? The answer is no, it would not be legal, and it would not be enforceable as well. The same goes for a contract, a rent agreement, barring the tenant from keeping a pet. That too would be unenforceable under Indian law. The reason is it would run contrary to the provisions of the Prevention of Cruelty Against Animals Act, and also, it can be argued, against the provisions of the Constitution of India, especially Article 300A of the Constitution, which guarantees a right to property subject to just and reasonable restrictions, of course. I often come across an advisory issued by the Animal Welfare Board of India in, I believe, 2015. This advisory contains a set of guidelines, and it is not law unto itself. Its breach or violation is not in any court in India. However, it is not completely worthless. It is the perfect articulation, I would insist, of the law on this subject. The advisory contains a set of guidelines targeting everyone from animal caregivers to those pesky RWAs. Insofar as the latter are concerned, RWAs, it clarifies that they do not have the legal competence to enact bylaws barring residents from keeping pets. It also adds that insofar as street dogs are concerned, they are not to be beaten or driven away from their native localities. they can be sterilized and then brought back to their native localities. That is all that can be done, and no more. Seeing as this is just an advisory issued under Section 9 of the Act and is as such not binding, I would implore and sincerely hope that the powers that be would enact binding rules under Section 10 of the Act. They are most certainly the need of the hour. Before I end this video, I would quickly like to point out that the Indian Penal Code also has certain provisions against animal cruelty. These are sections 428 and section 429, which make the maiming and killing of animals an offense, punishable by jail time and or fine. So that is also something that you do not want to do. Maim or kill an animal. So there you have it, folks. Don't let anybody, and I mean anybody, least of all RWAs, tell you that you cannot keep pets. You most certainly can, and they have no right to tell you that. You cannot. I think apologies are in order. I've been a little too harsh to RWAs, which have an important role to fulfill. They're not all that bad either. I must add here that animal caregivers and pet owners also have a responsibility to their neighbors and society in general, which is to ensure that they use their best judgment and make sure that the animals under their care do not pose a threat to anybody or become a nuisance in general. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, bye bye. Wrap.